Welcome to the Power Forward Pod, the Power Forward Group financial advisory team, where we believe 2 is better than 1, change is the only constant, and sound boxes are the enemy. I'm Ruvin Levavi. Today I'm joined by Power Forward Group advisor Michael Dayan and our special guest, Joe Kattan. Joe, great to have you here. Mike, you want to introduce? I think you have a special reason to introduce our guest today.
Yeah, so Joe's actually my brother-in-law. Makes me look bad in front of the in-laws all the time. He's actually an ex-Bain employee. Started his career there when you were 21. How old are you?
Yeah, 21, 22.
Yeah, and he left after a year and a half there and started an automation company, which I don't know many 24-year-olds that have that. I don't know, Ruvin, if you do, but...
No, I think, as the old man in the room, I think I'm joined by 2 young superstars, 2 young professionals. I look at you guys almost like kids, but you're already on your second career path. Is this number 2?
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Consulting now this.
So we're on number 2. Mikey, you're on number 2 also, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Banker now turns financial advisor.
All right, so you both shifted, but as you guys all know with the Power Forward Pod, we like to kind of go back, talk about money stories, a little bit, Joe, about where you came from. And then I want to talk a little bit about the business world that you learned through your time in the consulting space and now as a business owner yourself. So you guys grew up together. How do you guys know each other?
So Joe is a grade older than me.
Okay.
We ended up marrying sisters.
Okay.
I think Joe was dating since freshman year of high school, so he was dating for like 7 years before he got married. I started dating junior year, so I was always like the worst one because like I wasn't dating as long, but we knew each other. Joe was a basketball player. You know the basketball players, and we grew up 2 blocks away.
Forever playing tennis at our friend's house.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the dinner table with the family, when you're with the in-laws for both of you guys, I know we pretend it's not competitive, but it's probably a little bit competitive. From a power scale, from a dynamic of who they like more. Do you guys know? Have you guys ever discussed this?
Mikey's way funnier than I am.
Yeah. I think they like Joe better. I make them laugh more. I'm more out of pocket than Joe. But yeah,
I'm the reserved in-law.
Well, laughing's a great crutch, right? It's like always the dumb kid in the back of class is always the funniest kid, right?
Yep.
So that's not you though. You're not the dumb kid in the back of class.
Compared to Joe, I am. But
okay, so Joe, right? So before you went the consulting route, tell us a little bit just about your upbringing. Kind of tell us about your family life a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up on Avenue J. I went to Flatbush for elementary and high school.
That's Brooklyn for all you guys who don't know.
Yeah. I played basketball since I was, probably a baby. I played on the team for all of elementary and high school. My upbringing was kind of interesting. My mom's actually not Syrian, so a little bit less traditional in that sense. My dad was always very into education as well. So college and staying curious and expanding your mind was always something we had our eyes set on. And my siblings went to amazing schools. I went to Maryland, solid school, and always was a little bit more exposed to the professional world. I guess maybe in a different way than my peers in the Syrian community.
Right. So when we speak about Syrian community, we're speaking about the Syrian Jewish community, right? And headquartered in Brooklyn, New York today?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And Deal, New Jersey?
Yeah.
And so having more of a kind of an open outlook in terms of from a professional standpoint, you said that came from your mom, your dad?
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Okay. And Mikey, did you have a similar kind of setup coming?
Yeah, I would say it's more for my dad as a business owner.
Yeah.
And just seeing his money story, also the issues with the community, the tuition crisis, everything that's going on. I think that's really my money story, and him really focusing on us doing something for ourselves, building our own.
As a business owner?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just from my own experience, and we'll get to this a little bit, I think the upside, right, when you own your own business is infinite in a lot of ways, but also the ability to bet on yourself and not, quote unquote, hang yourself is the fear of the downside risk. But it's almost the opposite when I think about, you mentioned Maryland and kind of your professional career. I think about my own background, my own academic background. I went to law school, and the reason I did it was to create the safety net almost in a lot of ways. It was all right, you get grades, you take the entries, for me it was the LSAT, whatever the entry exam is, and it's going to give you something on the other side. And I think generationally, I felt this way. You guys are a little younger than me. It was always, if you follow these steps, you will get, if you follow A, B, and C, it will equal D at some point. And D was working for some environment to me of the man, like somebody's going to provide and support you based on that systematic approach. Did you know you were interested in consulting? Like, how did that work coming out of Maryland?
Yeah, I mean, similar to you, I wanted to set this. I always knew entrepreneurship was something I wanted throughout high school. I was always working on different things. I knew that starting and running my own business was going to be the trajectory for me.
Okay.
I did want a formal training ground, a brand, a reputation, and network. And I thought Bain was going to be a very good opportunity for that. I also think like it would set a floor for when I actually go out there and take risk. I know that I can always fall back on this, credential on my resume to take a job, to go do some type of independent consulting, whatever that might look like. So that was actually a good cushion for me to go out and take a risk.
Yeah. But for you, it sounds like the idea of taking the risk was always there. You wanted to make sure you created the safety net around that risk.
Correct.
Mike, how about for you? I mean, for those who don't remember, you want to give you a quick career background?
Yeah, so I graduated Baruch with a finance degree. I always knew I wanted to do some sort of wealth management. Like, I love helping people save money. Joe and I just booked a trip for next Christmas already. It's January, by the way, for people listening.
Christmas was 26, right? So,
Christmas 26.
A year away.
Yeah, 11 months in advance.
Okay.
And I always knew I wanted to help people save money, figuring out their life story, how they could just live better. And I started my career at Software Bank, where I was more of a banker, not really doing the full planning, really helping the clients A to Z. And why I came here was really to help clients where they are in life. We help clients in how many different aspects? I can't even name it.
I hope a lot. But as a banker, did it feel safe? Like it was like for yourself personally?
Yeah, it was definitely safe.
Right. So at some point you said, we're going to move beyond that?
Yeah. I think similar to your background, similar to a lot of our clients, they go to law school because they know if they graduate, they're making $240,000 if they graduate from one of the top law schools. Getting a job.
Inflation's crazy, by the way. I'm old. It was like 180 when I graduated, but okay.
Yeah. So I think that's similar to all three of us. Is we have the safety net to go back. You could go be a first-year associate if you want to be. And we have some clients that are 45-year-old first-year associates, so it wouldn't be. It's a good shot, saying you're 45, but and Joe has the safety net of he could always go to consulting. So.
Yeah. Yes, but like okay. So let's go back. Let's go back to the your time. What did you do at Bain?
So I worked across 3 different industries, primarily on growth and M&A strategy in aerospace and defense, pharmaceuticals, and industrials. We worked in small teams at Bain, roughly 5 to 7 people, and helped our clients, primarily very large companies, make decisions, project manage, like get big projects over the finish line. Help them, yeah. Right.
So I have to imagine the training must have been amazing because I mean this in the best of ways, but you're older than you were when you were at Bain. I see you walking into like Lockheed Martin as a defense industry, right? And some ex-colonel in the army or some general on their second career looks at you and is like, all right, this guy's going to tell me how to consult on my business. Like how did you build, like how did they help you build the confidence? And tell us a little bit about like what that was like in the trenches, like what you guys were doing.
Yeah, for sure. So Bain focuses on a couple of different skills. There's communication, problem solving, teamwork. Those and Bain also specifically out of some of the major consulting firms is very focused on not just like the IQ, but EQ, how to work well in teams, how to give feedback, receive feedback, grow professionally. We were doing conversations with a direct supervisor once every week to every 2 weeks on like, what could I be doing better? I don't know another company that does that. I try to implement that as much as I can in how I run my business. But there's a substantial level of training on, both the hard skills, the tools, the thinking, but also on how to communicate, how to work with people and deal with people. Regarding like the common question, who are you at 22? I think like having been in the trenches, doing that work, you see the value that a consulting firm provides, which is just like, we are an incredibly efficient team and know how to ask the right questions, get the data, prepare that in a way that's like consumable for your team to then go make decisions and act and implement.
Right. I definitely want to come back to asking the right questions, but IQ and EQ, I feel like IQ is almost a given, right? You get the job based on your IQ, right? Your resume, great. I'm sure your resume is great. I'm sure you did amazing at Maryland. People always talk about the entry process, like the interview process. What was that like?
Yeah. So consulting firms have what's called case interviews before they let you in. Historically, they were like, how many golf balls fit into an airplane? Bain, at least through my interview process, was a little bit more business oriented, a little bit more practical. So like, we have a client who's thinking about entering this market, structure the problem, ask me questions, help them make a decision. And basically there's a couple of components of that interview, but you outline a framework for how you might solve it. So something like that might look like, I first want to understand that is the market desirable? Does the team have the capability to tackle it? These are the questions I'd want to answer. And then you go through each of those questions and you basically ask for data. The interviewer is sitting on the other side with a couple of numbers, and then you're doing, math on the fly, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. So we didn't get any crazy questions. Good fact pattern. What was the Power Forward group? What was your interview like, Mikey? Do you remember? Any crazy questions?
No, I don't think anything too crazy. I think I came in not even as an interview. I came in to get advice from someone that was my hockey coach when I was 12 years old, maybe 14 years old. And then it just, one thing led to another and ended up working out for the best, I think.
Right. So going back to the IQ, EQ aspect, what do you guys think is more important? What do you feel like is it an equal balance? What do you think is more important to your business today?
Depends on what you do. I think if you're in sales, it's all EQ. Everyone really is in sales. And that's at least where I believe more of the upside is. But if you're an engineer and that's your path, like IQ is very important. I know of a lot of people who sit behind screens. They're running e-commerce companies or faceless social media, accounts, drop shipping, SaaS. You could sit behind the screen. You don't have to talk to a human. In that sense, EQ is not very important. But if you're, out there in the world, trying to sell yourself, integrate with people and with society, build teams, EQ is very, very important.
How about you, Mikey?
I think the same. I think you definitely need some IQ. You need to know what you're talking about. You need to know, but EQ is definitely more important.
Yeah.
I think understanding people and really any sales job, like Joe said, is more EQ.
Yeah. To me, I definitely think it's both, but I also think it's on the IQ side, it comes back and forth to asking the right questions and knowing like the rubric you want to attack from. And then the EQ side is, I think the sales side, right? It's for us, we try to be change agents. It's trying to look at a prospective client and say, hey, we see it so quickly because it's what we do, but if we can get you to change a behavior financially or do something else, we can create an end result. And sometimes we have to show that analytically based on the individual, or sometimes it's more of like, let me tell you a story about another client like yourself, because that's what's going to resonate with them. And oftentimes for me, it's looking at the person I'm sitting in front of and adjusting my strategy to what's going to help them, motivate them and change them more than anything else.
That's something I actually underestimated at Bain. I thought it would be like, we solve the problems, we gather the info, we give them a deck, they're going to go do it. But so much of the emphasis by like the leadership was, how do we actually get this company to now go implement? Who are the people? Yep. And we're like, dealing with politics internally on the client side. And that was such a big part of the role. Yeah,
and on a corporate level, right, you're asking a whole ship to move. It's hard enough for us when we're asking like one individual and then we got maybe a spouse. So it's all right, now we got to deal with two people. Yeah. You have HR, you got a whole load of people making decisions on that. So asking questions and thinking about where you want to be. So you were at Bain for how long before you knew?
About 14 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a little under 2 years. Well, a little bit more than under 2 years. My math is my forte. Tell us about the transition. Tell us what made you shift gears.
Yeah. So I was actually a minority owner in the company, Appraise It Now. We're an online appraisal company. I saw that the business was doing well, ultimately decided to buy my partner out through an auction process, which was interesting. I made that acquisition in November. There was a period of time where my work at Bain, which was super demanding, and my work operating the company overlapped. Eventually got to the point where I had enough conviction to leave Bain and run this full time. And so far it's been going well. Okay, so tell us what's an appraisal and what's an appraisal company, and then we'll dive into a little bit more about that. Sure. So an appraisal is essentially a third-party independent valuation. they're often used for legal, tax, or financial reporting purposes. The reports are typically conducted in a way that follows certain, appraisal standards, and appraisers sign off that they follow these ethical standards. You can appraise really anything: artwork, furniture, microphones and tech equipment, businesses. Real estate is obviously a big one. My company primarily focuses on personal property. So that's furniture, artwork, antiques, that kind of stuff, equipment, machinery, vehicles, and a little bit of business valuation. We even do some crypto for donations as well. Yeah.
Oh, I'm saying okay. The crypto.
Yeah,
It's like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and so the way our business works is we have a bunch of independent appraisers who specialize in different asset types. We market all these different services and then subcontract that work out to independent experts.
Okay, so to me it sounds. I hear traditional business, right? In our end, we deal with appraisals a lot. We have clients who will have to put in a personal financial statement for a loan of some sort, and or some lending facility. We have a lot of clients who use lending facilities on their assets. Bank wants, or the lender wants, a financial statement, and oftentimes, I'll see personal property outside of excluding real estate. $1 million, $800,000. And then you're like, oh, what's that? Yeah. Is that like some cool car I haven't heard of? And it turns out it's like 8 pieces of art, a plethora of different things. So that's where an appraisal will come in, because the banks will say, that's a lot of money. What is that? An appraiser comes in and gives a third-party valuation that the lender will then accept.
Exactly.
So to me, that's an old line business. What made you... And not that there's anything wrong with old line business, we're in the oldest line business, but what made you say, all right, I'm going to bring my capacity, what my skill set to that? What was the opportunity there?
Yeah. So my partner in the business actually founded it. I joined him before we both started at Bain. I brought some of the tech and automation stuff that I was doing before, which is primarily no code workflow automation with some of the tools that are out there. I always like services. I'm more service minded. And I thought this business was a very good fit for my skill set because it needs the technology and workflow automation and organization to manage a lot of different projects, delegate projects, quality control. And I think it's also a durable business that's going to be around in the new age of AI, because the reports are used for substantial purposes and somebody needs to be signing the document. So I thought it was a good opportunity. We were getting a lot of leads at the time before I bought it. And I had a thesis that we were not monetizing them to the extent that we could. Our conversion rates were low. Wasn't sure that we were pricing correctly. I thought there were other ways we could continue to grow the business. So that was my thesis for taking the extra step in.
So that's a consulting training, right? You're looking at a business model and you're saying, I can do it better.
Yeah. So it's funny, when I was making the decision to buy it, I really sat down and did basically what Bain does when they're looking at does this thing make sense? Where can I grow the conversion rate? Where at each step of the marketing funnel, where are the levers here to grow the thing? What are the risks? What are all the, components of the business I need to understand to make a very sound decision here? And then after you do the transaction, it's now going to implement. So I very much applied that consulting thinking there. Okay.
And then on a personal side, you went from making a steady income, right, with a guaranteed, growth rate attached to it, to I'm going to be a business owner. What were the what was that personal conversation like you had with yourself?
Yeah. I knew entrepreneurship was always going to be for me. I didn't quite think the business was going to go so well so quickly. I'm very, very fortunate for that. But it was hard. Bain has a very promising trajectory. Yeah. You could stay there a long time and make a lot of money as a partner, similar to Big Law. And it was hard, but I did feel out of alignment there a little bit. Day to day, I wasn't doing what I was truly meant to be doing. And then when I started operating my own thing, I knew okay, I like being creative. I like building new things. I like getting my hands dirty.
Okay. How long has it been?
About 14 months.
How's it go? All right. So
same as Bain.
Yeah.
Are we leaving or we're staying?
We're staying.
I can do that math.
This is gonna be my longest job so far.
Okay. So we're staying. All right. Right. We have young professionals here. So we're going to make it more than 14 months somewhere. And but that drives to another question, right? Is the ultimate goal to build a business, add value, and then sell it is the ultimate goal, to be a business owner operator forever? Do you know?
I don't know. I do think that this business and business model is very sellable. It's also part of a reason I wanted to get into it. I think making the decision to work on a business with equity value is like a very high leverage decision. I think there are a lot of people who have successful businesses and ultimately say like, if I wasn't operating this, I just want to be operating something else or something like this. So it's a very personal decision. And I think like it's nice that maybe the option will be open in the future. But I don't quite know how I'll feel.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, we run into business owners a lot. And when we think about that paradigm, it's especially, I see it a lot in the medical field where you do have a lot of business owners who are doctors, right? And they're on their feet. You see dentists, they're on their feet. They're working their business all the time. And you think, all right, what's the exit strategy? And maybe the exit strategy isn't there. Maybe there is no equity in the business, but then are you paying yourself enough, right? Which I think a lot of business owners forget. Now that there's no income, are you distributing enough? Can the business support your lifestyle and everything that comes along with it? But in the age of tech and modernization to O-line business, also thinking about our own business, we're always looking at different tech stacks and different ways to automate and get better. Has that been a big driver to the increased margins that you've been able to create?
Yeah. So my skill set's actually in the automation space. And before I even started at Bain, I was doing independent consulting work, helping businesses implement different systems. I would build them from scratch, and they were like generally very happy with the products, because it was like, oh my God, like we weren't using tech and now we're using it and things are organized and I don't have to like ask 15 people to get data. I knew this business with like the volume of leads we were getting, the volume of appraisals we were doing was very much needed to be organized and automated. And so immediately when I took over the business, I onboarded, I mean, I was involved prior to my full acquisition of it, but brought it onto like next level systems, integrated AI to improve our sales follow-ups, our marketing efforts, our delegation to appraisers, which allowed us to keep the margins meaningful. And we like integrate AI and automation and just keep things like organized, which is honestly the foundation to any good system across really all the projects we work on.
Right. Yeah, I think data is right. Having what I think there's a term for it, right? Data, not data analysis. Data engine. But there's a term for like controlling your data and and filing your data correctly, so then you can utilize your data.
Like hygiene, data hygiene.
Sure, data hygiene. I like it. You like that? Data
Sounds
hygiene.
good.
How's our data hygiene?
Not as good as appraising now, but it sounds like it.
Don't air our dirty laundry. But I mean, I was at an AI seminar. In the financial industry like a week ago. And the big point they made is like any system you bring online, especially if you're bringing on third-party systems, but also if you create your own, is only as good as the data you have, right? Because that's where it's learning. That's the data set. We're building the system off of. And the more similarities and the more you kind of provide the tech, that information, the better you can do with that data. 14 months in, what's the biggest fear? What keeps you up at night, business-wise?
There's always uncertainty. I'm not in a recurring revenue business. The lead sources are primarily through SEO, organic. We have a couple of referral partnerships, but it's not very predictable. So last month could be great. I have no idea what January is going to look like, what February is going to look like. It's very difficult. I mean, on a whim, things can change. Somebody reaches out for a rush project, could be huge, and like the whole thing shifts. That's always hard as with any entrepreneurship.
I think we see that year to year, right? We're starting 2026, and people ask me like, what you're looking forward to. It's like, it's like I'm a little bit, I don't know, starting blank slate. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I for sure feel that way. I think every year if you have a good year, next year could be a bad year, and you don't know what's going to happen. You just have to take it day by day.
Is there a level of predictability for you guys on like what you manage?
So in terms of our growth, for me personally, and for the company, in terms of our growth year over year, it's been pretty consistent. And I think a lot of that goes back into like, you don't know, right? And you have this fear. But what I've learned over time is if you put in the right amount of time and you know what your procedures are to creating that end ROI, and you just rinse, repeat again. It's not going to work every time, but if you're consistent with that 365 days a year, your net results are pretty damn good and they're pretty consistent. So it's figuring out what that process looks like and how you do it. Michael's a great example. You're here. How long are you with us?
Just hit 2 years.
Okay, right. So the beginning of every year is scary, but I'll share. We're 2 weeks into the year at time of this shooting. I think you just brought in your largest client. Is that right?
I think, 2x my biggest client.
Wow.
First week. Yeah.
Congrats.
So 2026 is a great year.
Yeah.
But
starting off with a bang.
I think the point that I'll dive under that is that didn't happen January 1st, 2026. When did that one household, like when did that happen?
I think we actually...
It's actually business. It's a business, not a household, but yes.
Our first meeting was probably, I think, March of 2024.
Right.
So 2 months. So it's almost 2 years since we started talking to them.
Right. So sometimes that's called like in our little, maybe a sales funnel, but I think about that as a process funnel, right? The top of it's what can I get into the top of the funnel? And if I consistently refill the top of the funnel, I'm going to get the bottom of the funnel. You're going to have some loss of production, some loss of time. Yeah. But if you're consistent enough with what goes in the top and don't stop, then you get the bottom. I think a lot of business owners fail because they get so busy at one. They either like one aspect of the business so much, or they get so stuck on like one aspect that they're in that moment in time and forget they have to keep doing all the hats that come with.
They keep filling the top.
Yeah. They stop, right?
They just focus on finishing it, on bringing it to the bottom, but they don't bring new things.
And I think what also happens is we lie to ourselves. Like going back to 2026 is a great year. When you close that household, you start to work with them, and now you actually get the money. You almost, at least I've struggled with this in the past. It's almost like that was always going to happen. Like I had that from the beginning, and like I can do that again. And it's like you can, but you had to start 6 months ago to do it again if you want to close another one 2 weeks ago, and like you forget that cycle. Great fact pattern though to kind of close out the conversation with, right? So that actual, I keep saying household, but it's a business, right? 3 partners. The goal for them was business planning, but one of the key factors for them was creating a buy-sell agreement, a buy-sell arrangement. Are you familiar with buy-sell arrangements at all?
Yeah.
Right? So the reason I bring it up in front of you, Joe, is the big question on creating value was the structure that we had created, but the underlying asset is the business, and what's the valuation of said business. And they did not get a third-party valuation. They did an internal valuation. It's a family-held business. But at certain levels, we are dealing with bank financing. They want to see what the valuation of the underlying asset is. Do you guys run into that at all? Business valuations? Or?
Yeah, we do business valuations. We've done them for estate planning, non-cash charitable contributions. We've actually done a handful for IRA conversions. Yeah, so people bringing
put their business in.
Yeah, from a traditional to a Roth IRA, they have to pay tax at the current valuation. So they have to get an appraisal for that.
Now we can really nerd out. Like just I realize I say buy-sell arrangement. What that really is there's an underlying business with 3 partners, equal partners, right? Mike, you explain it.
Yeah. So what a buy-sell agreement is for this specific case, there was 3 partners, and let's say, for example, their business was valued at $10 million, and they want to make sure that in case something happens to one of the partners, that their wife doesn't become a partner.
Their spouse or the family.
Or their family doesn't become. So we took out life insurance policies to make sure we support that $3.3 million so that if something were to happen to one of them, the company pays out to the spouse, and the other 2 owners, instead of becoming a third partner, now they're 50-50.
Right, so we want equitable scenario. So there's a trigger legal agreement that will trigger the spouse, the surviving spouse, to be bought out by the business, and the liquidity is created by the life insurance vehicle because it has automatic liquidity. The business doesn't want to be in a situation where they're selling underlying assets at a moment's notice to exit that scenario. In terms of where you can be found business-wise,
appraiseitnow.com.
Okay, appraiseitnow.com. There's so many fact patterns I could see where you guys fit into. We have attorney clients, trust and estates departments we work with, donor advised funds and things like that come up all the time, and different family office clients who are thinking about the personal financial statements I mentioned before, and various things. And also, from our perspective, I think it's a great resource because usually we tell the client, go and figure it out. And the client goes and figures it out, which means they probably end up on the internet. It's much better when we're able to offer a service like yourself. So I'm really glad you are here to share your business and your story with us. And I'm looking forward to the next 14 months, because I guess when you're this young, we're slicing it off in 14-month sections instead of 10-year business plans. I don't think they did that at Bain, right? Was it 14 months, or like what was a good outlook on time?
Multi-year, 3 to 5 years.
All right. Well, we'll chop off 14-month outlooks and do it really well. But thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you all for listening to the Power Forward Pod. Great start to 2026. Let's get it.